by virtue of the fact that they are resident in Northern Ireland, but they may hold an Irish passport, they may have dual citizenship. The same does not apply to citizens who live here. This is a blatant discrimination against we who reside in this state. People can come down here from Northern Ireland and are not subjected to all of the harassment that we are. This is an outrageous, obvious breach of our constitution. And if the judge does not see it that way, we will be going straight to the Court of Appeal to make sure that we do get justice, and we will continue up as far as Europe. As we have said, we're not in any doubt about that.
Yes, one of the things the judge kept saying was this and this isn't in your papers. But we pointed out that the situation is evolving, has been evolving now for nearly 2 months. And in fact 2 months, I think, since the first case was recorded here. And you know, we submitted our papers 3 weeks ago. Many things have happened and come to light since then. You know, are we to be debarred from including those events in our case? Well, I would think not, and I think we have the capacity to add new information at any time. I mean, the court seemed to be suggesting to us that we needed to have our witnesses, our scientific papers and everything in our package now. Let us not forget that this application was made 3 weeks ago on an ex parte application, which means that we go in alone without the other side, and the judge makes a decision as to whether this case meets the requirements for a constitutional action.
And the bar is normally very low.
It's a very light burden according to Mrs. Justice Denham in a particular ruling, G versus DPP. So we have no doubt. I mean, if it cannot be decided that we have met this, you know, then there is no such thing as unconstitutionality. It doesn't exist. You can't breach the Constitution at all.
And more and more evidence is coming to light, scientific evidence, that the lockdown is harmful, it's injurious to people, because denying them sunshine, denying them vitamin C, vitamin D, denying them fresh air, denying them the right to walk in their hills or walk on their beaches, this is all injurious to the health and the well-being of the Irish people. It's ridiculous that we have to state this every time we come down here. So the lockdown is harming more people, and we don't believe for 1 second that it is in any way beneficial, because we know that it's very important for the healthy population, the 99.9% of the population, to get out and to be confronted by this virus, if there even is a virus, because there is no test for this virus yet.
There is no virus, Gemma. But
well,
at the moment in America, right, they have dogs. They have dogs. They're investing millions for dogs to detect this alleged virus. You know, I mean, this is what's coming. It's happening in the UK, and I hope you emphasise that the Irish already invested with China 240 million last year to open the Wuxi vaccine facility in Dundalk.
I pointed that
so
out
that's premeditated. And the fact that they have Michael Ryan as the World Health Organization,
is involved in that company.
They have someone with the World Health that's. You understand? It's all about the vaccines.
We pointed out to the judge, you know, many times that you know, this is a very serious, very grave situation that Ireland faces, possibly unprecedented, I would say, in our history. The consequences, the fallout from this will be absolutely devastating. There's no consciousness of RTE doesn't appear to have thought of this yet. They're chasing us around, they're asking us ridiculous questions, which are putting words in our mouths as if to say, is this a conspiracy theory? You know, this sort of nonsense. This is what we pay our license fee for.
Well, I was questioned about mass immigration. Mass immigration, as we're going in to try and remove the people from house arrest.
On the actual case itself. They have reported nothing substantive about any of the hearings so far. They are a disgrace and an outrage. But the point is this, that I made in as delicate a manner as I could make it to the judge, that history will be looking at these days very closely, if there is a history, which is another question. And the people who are making these decisions will come under very close scrutiny. Remember 2008, remember 2009, remember 2010? The absolute rage and the blaming and shaming of people at that time for the collapse of the economy, which if the economists are right about this, will have been a picnic in the park compared to what's coming. What are the public going to say if, as a result of this kind of messing around and technicalities, talking about peripheralities, this court failed to address the question of constitutionality and were to dismiss, God forbid, dismiss this matter? Where then would the authorities in this country be? I think that is a serious constitutional crisis facing us in the future if that were to happen. And I think that we need to be on our guard, and certainly we will take every step, as Gemma says, to rectify anything that happens in that regard as we go along. But I have to say that the judge, my jury is out on the judge. I have respect for the judge. I think he's a very smart guy. I think he's going through the very exacting process in his mind of checking us out and checking our evidence out, and that's absolutely fine. I cannot say the same, I don't think, for the teams representing the state and the Oireachtas and so on. I think there's a great deal of game playing, of gamesmanship, and of dirty trickery going on, and that's very regrettable. And again, it reflects what it seems to be the watchword of all of this, which is that it's about pulling the wool over the eyes of the public. Yes. It's about abusing the public, patronising the public, gaslighting the public, and treating the public as if they were serfs. Because in effect, that's what this actually amounts to. If this is not unconstitutional, then what it means is that the 1947 Constitution was, in fact, all along a charter for serfdom, and that it permitted virtually anything to be done to the people of Ireland on any pretext or none. And I think that's a situation that anybody, judge or not judge, has to think is outrageous and unthinkable.
Tomorrow, we're back tomorrow.
What time?
10:30 again. We'll be here from 10:30.
Well, if they want witnesses, we're all here.
Well, you're all, as I say, thank you. Thank you on behalf of the thousands of people who write to us every day. We receive hundreds of emails from people who say they can't attend, they've been stopped, they were on the train from Cork, all of our rural cousins who would love to be here, but they're being stopped. This is reminiscent of Nazi Germany, stopped and turned back.
The same today at lunch hour, when you went back in, the people's names, when you were going back in, people's names and addresses were getting taken, and they were getting told they may be charged in the future. Now the man that was spat in his face and the guard wouldn't intervene, this man came back and stripped in front of children there, took his trousers down. He was brought in there behind and let go out that way. He wasn't even charged. But he did take the victim's name and address and then said, now we have you, may be the one getting charged for being here.
That's normal enough. Of course. Well, this is how it works. But all of those cases all of those victims, all of those people who've been subjected to this, I believe, will have serious recourse to the courts in the coming years. There will be massive claims. We're trying to prevent the state and protect the taxpayer from these claims, which are going to be abundant. We're giving the state an opt-out now to end this insanity. They have the opportunity to do the right thing for the Irish people and for themselves, because this is going to cost the Exchequer an absolute fortune when it is finally determined that this is unconstitutional, and all of the carry-on involving these Gardaí has been harassment, has been breach of habeas corpus, unlawful detention, and they're doing it, it's relentless.
Can I say that this is, just very briefly, our constitution is rooted in common law, which is based on a very fundamental idea of freedom, which is that we are all free to begin, and that freedom can only be circumscribed in the most limited and minimalistic circumstances in the common good. And these tests are not being applied here. And the reason for that is, I think we're in a new era in terms of our governance in this country, and I mean by that not just the politicians and Minister House and government buildings, but also the kind of government that comes here and the governments that we have from police stations like the Bridewell down the street. That the people who inhabit these buildings seem to believe that the rule is that it's almost like that they own the commodity that they are purveying in public. In other words, the legislation, provision of legislation to the country, the enforcement of the laws, the rulings on the laws, the deliberation upon the process of justice, that these are processes which belong to certain cadres of people, certain